Bang, bang, bang. Brothers and sisters, wherever you get to me, greetings. Man, it's wild. So about 3 days ago, and I'm right to the nitty gritty, I ain't playing no games. 3 days ago, 2.5 days ago, whatever, they have a hearing, Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? 100 years. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I've spoken freely and openly about the Tulsa, Oklahoma situation since I've pretty much been dropping videos. So it's not a subject that should be foreign to anybody that deals with me. Major disappointment. There's a litany of things I was disappointed with, not with the elders themselves, with how they forced. I want y'all to think about this. This is my the to me, outside of the fact that we know ain't nothing gonna happen from it, right? They forced elders, 100+ year old people, to have to write down what they wanted to say. As if at 100-something years old, if you tell them that they have 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however much the time limit is, right? They act like these people couldn't have articulated the same things. Peace, bro. And it's wild. We all know it's wild. How many times has a person talked to somebody that's in their late 80s, early 90s? Full cognitive reasoning. I've talked to a couple 100 years olds in my life. A couple people who were a little bit older than that. And their reasoning was still well within them. So I just don't believe that what they done and how they done it was appropriate. That was totally inappropriate. On top of that, and how they corralled the elders to have to speak the way that they spoke, they only look, I mean, to be 100+ years old and to be able to reason, once again, people was, oh, they're senile and they're, oh, well, who wrote the speech? I mean, once again, if you can read, think about what I'm saying. If you can read, you can presently process information and you can think about what you want to say yourself. I don't know how many times the elders got caught up while they were reading, trying to find the place where they were at. Now, what made me angry about that was because I'm sitting there thinking, like, young people read stuff and lose their place all the time. So now people are thinking, oh, these are just some old folks who don't really know what's going on. Nah. They know what's going on. And as opposed to them being able to explain how it truly affected their life, the real way, right? They were forced to capitulate. There should have been a whole week set aside, a whole month set aside for hearings just on the matter. Fuck it, a whole year if it's like that. But what they did was they forced people to take 100 years of suffering and put it into 5 minutes. Major problems with that. Major problems. You can say 10, 20 minutes because how long, but I'm talking about if they could have just if they could have just said what they wanted to say in 5 or 10 minutes, as opposed to taking the time to try to read a piece of paper and to go through all the different things. It's not organic like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like taking a piece of metal and putting it in the ground and calling it a tree. That's not a tree. That's a piece of metal in the ground. You follow what I'm saying? That's not organic. So what happened was they were forced to speak pretty much nutshell versions of how it affected them. And they weren't even able to really say how much money they thought that the situation was worth to them individually. It's not up for a governing body or for people who did the appraisal or whatever to choose that for you. Next major problem, disappointment. They had some Irish dude who looked like a quadroon at best representing the people. And I'm like, there's no black lawyer. There wasn't any black lawyers that could have brought this forward. The whole thing should have been all black. Okay? Right on? People like, why wasn't that your beef the first? Because the elders speaking their mind is more important than me telling you that the whole thing should have been all black to begin with. We already know that. That's an afterthought to the matter. But the fact that it wasn't all black, they got this Irish English sounding dude, Scottish sounding dude up there talking, and he can't even really articulate the situation the way that it's supposed to be articulated and brought forth the way that it should have been brought forth. That's the craziest thing to me. Right. And as opposed to them getting children and grandchildren, I'm talking about, why is it only the old people that matter? What about the people that came after them that this affected? They should be speaking. Families of people who were forced to migrate from Oklahoma to all these different states who faced racism in those states should have been able to speak up about the life that was stolen from their people. Now follow me. I'm a biblical man. I do believe in my God. Having said that, I don't believe that wickedness should be imparted on anyone who is not doing anything to anyone else. So I'm saying that if you're not doing anything wrong to anybody, the wrong thing shouldn't happen to you. And people overlook the fact of why this all supposedly took place. Now, we can put Tulsa on the back burner for half a second when I talk about why it's supposed to be all black. All the other cities that were burnt down to the ground, very similar style, airstrike, right? Air bomb, whatever you want to call it. Firebomb from up top, though, for sure. Believe that. All this happens after World War I. If people don't understand that part, talk about 90% of these things happen after World War I. The reason why is because whites came home to nothing. And black people with real skills were doing things. So people who would actually learn from their great-grandfather or their grandfather how to harvest rubber out of the plants and how to actually manufacture it. Right on? Boom. Black people who were doing stuff like that, who had whole companies, hostile takeovers done to them. I don't want to get carried away with things like that, right? But it's that sort of idea, okay? It's that thing, because it was all black back then. They didn't really need white folks. Once it all got jumped all the way off, once it popped off all the way, white people, whatever you think they are, if you really think they're people, I don't think they're Gentiles. Those things. Once they were out the way, though, the thriving began. And when the thriving began without them, the speak of eugenics, see, I'm going to break it down to y'all. The speak of eugenics pushed a lot of these things to happen because they couldn't afford for there to be a generation of black people born into any sort of a good situation, okay, that was stable. Because then that would undo the myth of eugenics in one generation. Right. Now back to why it should have been all black. It should have been kept all black so that way everyone on the ends would have known that the ultimate goal is to get the people of Tulsa, all those families, reparated. Talking about instantaneously, as fast as we can. They gave half of the so-called control of the state to the natives last year, the year before that, whenever they did that. Think about what I'm saying. Whatever they think that land is worth, right? Black people didn't go out, black people didn't commit genocide against Native Americans. So that's got nothing to do with us, okay? So when they throw that out there and say, well, we did this, that's got nothing to do with us. Even for black people who claim to be natives, if they have ancestors that was on those plantations, that kind of makes that null and void anyway, okay? Because you're going to tell me that natives that were here suffered more than black people. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Have they suffered? Yeah, but they've suffered a lot at their own behest because things that they didn't do, they should have done, and things that they did do, they also should not have done. Okay, or they should not have done. In one case, they should have done something. In another case, they should not have done that. Black people should have had it on the ends. Instead, you got some fucking McCleary sounding guy up there talking all crazy and sounding stupid. I'm like, what does this guy know about the black struggle? That's the problem. Major disappointment. Then one of the biggest disappointments came at the end of it. You had to have watched it to seen it. There was this brother who was actually from Tulsa who's talking about, he's breaking down how the racist system still now. And this is what he said almost verbatim. He said, back then they said, we got to figure out a way to keep these niggers down. Right? And he said, until this day, right, they try to figure out a way to keep niggas down. The white dude who was the moderator at that point was like, I yield my time. See, we needed all black people. The whole thing should have been all black. That's the problem. That was the problem. That's the issue. They're like, there's not enough black, whatever. Okay, so look, you get the whatever black senators or the black whatever House of Rep people that you got, and then you just get actual real black people who are prominent, real community leaders, people who actually go to funerals and console families and try to keep people's lights on and try to keep people's mortgages paid. Real community leaders, people who actually do things, elders, okay? They should have been up there. You got folks who want to talk about, well, where I'm from, there was a race massacre too. Okay, but okay, so why aren't you condemning it? Right. Acknowledging it and condemning it are not the same thing. But they want black people to forgive. I want you to understand, they want the only group in this whole country that has been oppressed to the point to where in which when you don't acknowledge it, it makes you seem as if you're foolish. And it makes it seem as if you're out of touch with reality. Nobody has to say that everything that happens to black people is because of racism. But a high percentage of the things that do take place with them is because of racism. And it's hard for me to believe that a white woman, I don't care how many black guys she done let run through her in her life, she could never understand black people. Did you hear me? Okay, then. That's what I'm talking about. Because that's where I'm at. Sheila Jackson Lee, she gets up at the end and start trying to, peacock and poke her chest out. I couldn't really feel it because I'm like, young lady, we needed you to speak less and let these other people say what they wanted to say. Right on, and actually let them speak. She tried to take the time of the 5 minutes from those who should have been allowed to expound on the situation within the 5 minutes. She should have took a minute for herself real quick, got her quick little questions off, okay, and then allowed this brother a couple minutes and then allowed the other brother a couple minutes, even though the one brother was a complete sellout. Right, complete sellout. Was like, I don't think that this is a country of systemic racism. I think it's the country of systemic opportunity. Now, I want him to keep that same energy the next time he gets pulled over for some nonsense, the next time that he can't explain why are they treating me like this, right? And the only thing that you can come to the conclusion in your mind is that it's because I'm black. Don't then all of a sudden have I seen the light and I seen the Lord. Right? No. We don't want to hear that because you said what you said. I heard it. See, people who didn't watch it, it's okay. I'm relaying to you the real important pieces. Okay, you got a guy calling himself Uncle Red. No disrespect to Uncle Red because he didn't live this long. God bless him. But he looked like an old white dude who might have a half black parent or something like that, right? But every once in a while, stuff happens. But I'm just looking at the situation and I'm like, yo, is anybody other than me kind of caught off guard by all this? Is it just your boy? And I know I'm not. I'm just the only person who's going to come out and say that they're disappointed outright. I'm just a straight up disappointment. They made the elders to look as if they couldn't even speak. The only people who should have been speaking, no disrespect to Uncle Red, is the two older black ladies. That's who should have been talking. Whatever he was talking about, whatever, dude. You see what I'm saying? Because cats be saying, they talking loud and saying nothing. All right? Like a dull knife. Like James said, just ain't cutting, Jack. You just ain't cutting, Jack. I'm sorry. So that's where I'm at. Get people who look like me up there. I don't want to hear, look, no disrespect. How hard do you think that dude Red's life really was? Just looking at his skin tone. You think white people really went out their way to really racially oppress him? See, this is the kind of stuff that you need to think about. Because black people who look like this, there's no hiding. You don't get no pass. People don't yuckity yuck yuck yuck. You look just like us. No, we don't get none of that. So when that stuff happens, we have to look at it and say, okay, why are they treating this individual better than all of us? Right. And folks don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that because what it does is it destroys what they believe. You follow what I'm saying? People be like, "Oh, I don't get treated better because of this." Yes, you do. Right on. And once again, the Tulsa being a disappointment because they got all these people. It was weird. It was like I seen something that I know most people would like be like, "You're being petty." It was like the black people who have, once again, things have been okay for them, right? There was an old brother, old brother, was like, I don't think that this country's racist. These are the same kind of old black people that tell you, oh, I marched with King. See, when you have that kind of duplicitous attitude, once again, that's why it has to be black, for real black. Like I'm talking all black, the right way. I'm talking Donny Hathaway, okay? All right? And Roberta Flack. Be real black for me, okay? I'm talking that kind of black. I want y'all to go and watch it. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm gonna have to find the full broadcast and put the link in here. But if y'all can, just go find it. Word? And get it right. I'm gonna stay my hand. I'm not gonna look it up. I want everybody, people will come in here and check this out later, but they know it was a disappointment. I'm not the only one who feels like that. Now, side note, I don't know which one of the elder ladies it was, but when she said that I still have nightmares, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need y'all to think about this. They compensate folks right now to this day for claims that are decades old, for things that like are not anywhere close as traumatic as this. And they give these people millions of dollars. Okay, you don't want to reparate all these people? Reparate these old people that are still living so that way they can create foundations so the money can trickle down to all these families the right way. Be distributed the right way. Give them $1 trillion each because they deserve it, because they lived this long, and they all they've ever waited for is justice, and all they've ever seen is injustice during their life. They're owed that much. See, and because so-called white people don't have the cognitive reasoning to say, okay, what can we do differently? Because the deny doesn't work anymore. That's not going to work. So what can we do differently? And because they don't have the cognitive reasoning to come to the stark, honest, and simple conclusion that you must give them all that you have, we'll never get anywhere. That's the only fix, is to give us everything. That's a fact. There shouldn't have to be an old black person reliving the nightmare that has been their whole life, like where they wonder, like, if that never happened, where would I be? Like, how different would my life be? Right. But the same white folks who committed that atrocity 10 years later, when the Dust Bowl happened, were given money by the government for things that they had lost. Even though some of the same white folks who suffered in the Dust Bowl took lives, murdered black people just a whole decade before that. I want y'all to really let that sink in for a moment. We're able to relocate to California. Them and other people from the Southwest and the Midwest, so-called people. Think about that for a moment. And they want you and me. They reparated those folks in the Dust Bowl immediately. Come on, man. Hear what I'm saying. 10 years after black people got murdered, some of the same motherfuckers who killed black people were reparated immediately, were given New Deal money. Right. Now, once again, if they already knew that, I guess they already knew that. But if they didn't know that, they need to start putting these things together and saying, okay, why does he ask for so much money? Because the blatant injustice is so obvious that you'd have to, once again, not be astute of history to know that. So once again, they can read, but they don't know those things. Right on? Can you dig what I'm saying, y'all? Can you feel what I'm saying? These cats think they can read, but they don't even know those things. So they waste all their time. I don't know what they waste their time doing, but they don't use their time wisely. I'm trying to give folks the game right now. Super disappointment. You had a black man who could have just said, you know what? Even though it's been sweet for me in America, it's still racist as hell. How hard would that have been to say? How difficult would that have been to utter out of his mouth? To say, like, yeah, even though I drive a car that's worth almost 6 figures or a 6-figure vehicle, right on, I live in a 7-figure home, right? How hard would that have been for the brother to say, yo, you know what? It's still racist as hell. Because I see what other people have to go through every day. I can acknowledge their struggle, even though it's not my struggle in particular. And what I go through is not as major as what they go through. I still face and experience bigotry at a level where I know that it's real and it's prevalent. What did he say? No. It's the systematic opportunity. Did y'all know after all the race massacres is when black people started the great exoduses from all the places that they was at? Did y'all know around the same time the Rockefellers and other groups were investing, like I said, they were pumping millions into eugenics and they were pumping millions of dollars more into building housing projects and to having black people come in to build the places that they would be sequestered in? Did you know that around the same time all these things are happening? Yes or no? Because if you didn't know that, right, then you can't see my frustration. If you did know that, then you can understand where I'm going with all this. The hearing should have been about how much money they were getting. Come on. Somebody hear me. Somebody's going to hear me one of these days. The hearing should have been about how much money are we going to give these people? Even if it's just these three. And they all need $1 trillion then. And Uncle Red, go ahead and get ready to break all that money off to the peoples. That's right. I told you we're bankrupting the world when I'm done. Y'all think I'm lying. Over my dead body will we not, before everything happens, will black people will be leaving with much loot, even the lame. I promise to God. We're leaving here with everything. They owe it to us. It's ours. They've squandered their abilities anyway. Don't matter though, bro. That's when you break script, family. That's what I'm saying though. We all know he got picked because he was known to probably to not get but the other brother broke ranks and broke script. The other brother broke ranks and broke script. So why not? That's all I'm saying. Other brother said, yeah. He said, you know, it was documented. He said that we need to find a way to keep these niggers down and oppressed. And he said, and to this day, they've been keeping, you know, it hasn't changed. We got to keep these niggas down. And the white guy was like, I yield my time. That dude could have did some hood shit just like that. Been viral. Could have went viral out here. That's what that should have been the point of this hearing. Once again, should have been getting paid. If we can't get paid, boy, we acting a donkey in here, bruh. And I don't mean getting dragged out by security or getting dunked on your head or nothing like that or getting shot and killed. I'm talking about what I got to say is some hot fire. Hot fire. See, most black people don't talk around this. I talk like this around so-called white people. Have no issues doing it. So most niggas ain't like me. I've been around white people forever. So I don't have the inherent fear that a lot of black people have of white people. I just don't trust white people. Them Gentile things. Can't trust them. They're not trustworthy. Can't trust niggas. If you can't trust niggas, you know you can't trust them. What? Come on, let me repeat myself. If you can't trust niggas, you know you can't trust them. But yet you trust them to listen to you and to do the right thing. Do y'all realize it was insurmountable pressure that got Breonna Taylor's family paid, to me, would seem like record time. Insurmountable pressure did that. Not justice. Insurmountable pressure. And it wasn't justice to have paid her family to shut the fuck up, pretty much. That's not justice. Once again, there was no pressure. So all my disappointments are warranted and they make sense. I should be disappointed. You should too, brothers and sisters. You should be disgusted at what happened because it made no sense. You're telling me right now that once again, in a room full of a whole bunch of white folks who come from places that will openly admit committed massacres likened to that, come on, at the Black Wall Street, and tell y'all that they come from a place like that. Okay, well, if they come from that place and they don't have a problem being from there, right? If I don't hear you say, I'm ashamed to be from the state of Carolina because of its history. I'm ashamed to be from this place. I'm ashamed that I was born here in this country among the worst of the heathen. There's nothing I can really do about that. It is what it is. The most I can do is object, be a conscientious objector towards that. That's it. But the fact that they're not even consciously there is no objection from those whom you seek to listen to you. They don't even reprimand. You don't have to speak ill of that, but you can reprimand them. They speak ill of Hitler all the time, call him all kinds of devils, but tell you don't speak ill of Robert E. Lee or somebody like that. Motherfuckers is crazy. Don't speak ill of borderline racist bastards like Stonewall Jackson. Plenty of Union soldiers hated black people. Plenty. Right. So why you think any different now? That folks who asked them what side of history their family was on. Did they fight for the North or the South? That wasn't even like a requisite thing. Like, once again, it's a disappointment because you have too many individuals. Where the descendants of John Brown at, huh? Why couldn't they have got his descendants out there? Some actual righteous white people. So-called white people. Because I don't think he was really white like that. Anyway. You know, the Uncle Red type. Anyhow. Where was his descendants at, huh? Just to make sure that black people's backbone was straight. Like, yo, my daddy got, our forefather was murdered. Fought valiantly. Though some of the black people that he went to go get to fight with them tucked tail and run when it got real. Lost 2 of his sons and then ended up losing his life later to a firing squad. Oh. Right. Where his descendants at? To say, hey man, what happened in Tulsa are the types of things that my father fought to make sure that they wouldn't happen. Come on. I don't need no amens. That's the truth. Y'all don't want to hear that? Oh well. That you had righteous so-called white people who had the sense to understand if we don't push back right now, what they'll do to them if they finally get something will be unrighteous. Where are we at now? But the aftermath of black people not having the forward sense to want to protect themselves. And then when they do, it's normally too late. Once again, they downplay the fact that interracial romance, so-called romance, is what sparked off this entire ordeal. Mind the fact that people said that the black dude and the white chick moved up to Detroit or Michigan or something like that. I know it was Michigan. I'm pretty sure it was Michigan. Don't know if it was Detroit though, but they moved up north. Lived out the rest of their life. Think about that for a moment. All that for a white chick. I don't know. I don't know if I respect that. Then you got white chicks talking on the panel as if they don't know that this shit started over some dumbass bitch who looked like you. And didn't have the, once again, nobody had the nerve or wherewithal, because you had to write down the speech. So not like they can say, this is why our parents told us to stay away from white people, because things like this could happen. Can't come outright and say it. I forget the elder's name, but she was the last one who spoke, and she was at home when she was speaking, and she said white people need to do the right thing. Y'all need to, you know what I'm saying? Y'all need to go ahead and come up off that cake. Now she didn't say all that, but she was saying that though. Y'all need to go ahead and make it right. The only way that y'all know how to make it right. Because for her to ask for blood, they would say she's asking for too much. But she paid with blood. Her family paid with blood. Right. So all of a sudden, you see what I'm saying? They're asking you to take dollars for a life. I told y'all, if y'all read my description, I cannot confirm my own goodwill. These people cannot confirm their own goodwill by putting it on paper. Did y'all hear anything where the dude said that the banks wouldn't honor people's accounts? Because guess what? The banknote paper that they had it on, the bank slip paper that they had it on, got burnt up in the riots. So a lot of black people lost their money in these banks. Wow. Don't worry though, because 10 years later, the Dust Bowl would happen. It would clear up some of that riffraff. But to think though, so-called 100 years later, that they've reparated none of these people. They've restituted none of these people. They've repatriated nothing to them. Are you impressed by that? So once again, hashtag cut the check. The dumbest shit I ever fucking heard. I want my trillion the right way. Like I said, I need carbuncle, emerald, rubies, gold, sapphire, jade. Okay? Right on? I need the topaz. I need the amethyst. I need that. My brothers and sisters who have had to live with the shame of Tulsa hanging over their heads because they are the direct descendants of a massacre wherein which they are not able to be avengers of the blood. They need that. Act like y'all people talk like you believe in the Most High God. It's blood for blood out here. I'm a let it be known and keep saying it. It's blood for blood. Ignore that in the background. I don't know where they came from today. I swear they just did this like 2 days ago. But anyway, my point is this. It's blood for blood. It will always be blood for blood. If plucking out somebody's eye does not produce blood, or plucking out their tooth does not produce blood, I don't know what it does. It's blood for blood, homie. Sorry. I didn't make the rules. I'm just following them. See what I'm saying? How did you adjudicate that? How do you litigate that, y'all? Who do you say dies? Huh? You gonna only pick the worst of your children to die? No, we want some of those innocent ones too. Right. See what I'm saying? The worst of your elders? No, we want some of those righteous elders too. Right. Your youth, your grown-ups, all that. The adults, as they say. Right. The blood for blood that is owed to black people. Once again, they never talk about depths of despair on plantations. Do y'all know how many black people ended their own lives being slaves? I mean, once again, does this even touch your minds on a daily basis? You know, or are you only worried about what LeBron is talking about, or what Serena is doing, or what Meghan Markle is up to? Like, I don't know what people be into, but they be into some backward shit. Meets is into some forward thinking, straight up forward thinking. I always think about my people. Thinking back on them is a forward thought process because I can understand the struggle, and it makes it to where it's like, okay, no matter what I go through, I can't fold because they never were able to sit in a hot shower. Come on. Lift up a brewski while they talk on YouTube on live. Come on. They could never do that. So no matter how stupid it gets for me, I just have to remember that that's the part of the game. Come on. Hear me, brothers and sisters. You have access to things that they could never have access to. Even at your lowest state, unless you're completely destitute, you have access to things that your ancestors never had access to. People so used to taking showers and baths that that ain't nothing, huh? Niggas got so many pairs of shoes, like me and my brother Andre Wickham talk about. Once again, how many people in Tulsa you think had to walk barefoot after that ordeal, y'all? And for how long? You know, because money does not grow on trees, despite what folks like to think. Right. It was a big deal for a slave to have a pair of shoes. Some of these people were coming out of slavery, or literally the generation right after slavery. Literally. Think about that for just half a second. What year do you think the people were born in who suffered the most during Tulsa? If you're 100 right now, and Tulsa happened 100 years ago, and people were 50, 60, 70 in Tulsa, okay then, some of those folks were born slaves. Never had a pair of shoes till they got free. I's free. I's like nice things. I think I'm going to get me a pair of shoes made. That's right. Anybody want to talk sour or south about my people? Because you can come see me. And we can really get it popping off. I got no guns. You ain't got to worry about that. But if you get too close, just know there's knockout power in either one of these hands. Sucker butts. Afraid to stand up for black people and claim to be a nigga. Man, once again, if you don't think you're worth $1 trillion, get your bitch ass in the back. Facts. No conjecture or opinion. They made the ancestors to sit there and to put words together. What does the book of Enoch say to us? That men, like the angels, were created perfect. Right. They weren't, ink and paper is not for us. We were never meant to confirm our own goodwill. So all they should have had to do was speak what was righteously on their hearts and on their souls. And that's it. And ask God to guide them. Ask God to make sure the things that I desire to be heard the most, that are righteous, that truly need to be heard the most, that they're heard above all the other things. That they can tune all of it up, the rest of it that's not important out, and they can only get what is righteous and truly pertinent to the message. They weren't even allowed to do that. People don't understand how frustrated I was watching that. I watched it. I watched most of it. Other people didn't watch it, so they don't understand how painful it was to watch these old people literally lose their place while they were reading off of a fucking script. It was so painful. I felt for them because I'm just like, why can't they just talk? They talk to everybody else every other day. They probably had to ask people to do stuff for them that same day. In that same room. But you can't speak for yourself? If the pain, once again, if the pain is that real, you don't need to write it down. I'm angry thinking about it because, once again, nobody my age, nobody, 10, 15 years older than me, nobody 30 years older than me was in there talking and really trying to lay down the law and be like, hey, this adversely affected us. This put us in a position where now look at us. Or what, you don't think women had to turn to being whores and stuff like that? And this made brothers back then criminals that they would have never been? Created sinners from a situation like this. But that's okay though, right? No, it's not okay. Obviously, not to me. I'm telling y'all, one of these days, it's coming soon to a theater near you. The wailing and the gnashing of teeth is coming. Think I'm lying. People so backwards, they would rather not talk about this because it was a disappointment. The so-called new voices of black media should be all over it because this was disappointing. And they know it was disappointing. They probably thought there was going to be some fire. The only hot fire moment was at the end, like I said, when the brother was like, yeah, and they said, we have to figure out a way to oppress these niggas. Got to keep these niggas down. I love it. Loved it. Loved it. That's the only thing that was not a major disappointment. It's the only thing that made it worth watching. Okay? It's like watching a C-rated movie and then out of nowhere, there's like an actual like worthy fight scene. You're like, oh shit, didn't see that coming. Right. The rest of it was trash, but at least this one moment almost redeems me losing brain cells from watching it. However, I didn't lose any brain cells watching that. What I lost was compassion and empathy for my enemy. What little compassion I already lost, it's just chipping away at that. Where come the final days, they're not going to be able to ask me for anything. They can't ask me for shit now, really. So come those days, they're really not going to be able to ask me for nothing. I practice decency. I practice mercy today, so that way, the day where there are no cops to call, it's every man for himself. I've already practiced all the mercy I'm going to practice. I'm getting all my mercy out my system now. That's why I give people money and I do stuff like that now. Word? Because come that day where there are no police to call, everybody trying to stay alive, we are going to see. I'm telling you. I can't wait. Every once in a while, I feel the pain in my body from having done all the stuff that I've done in my life, but it's okay. I'm waiting. If you ain't never cried for black people, what they've been through, I cry for black people all the time for what they go through. Breaks my heart, hurts my soul, for real, to know that a righteous people, and maybe not all of them, but there's enough of them that are righteous that you can really see that these are righteous people. Why do they have to suffer like this? I know the answer to the question, but if you're not looking for those kind of answers, that's what it makes you ask. Like, why do they have to suffer in this fashion? And why is it that we continuously get in front of our enemies and let them hear our pain? You know how many of those white folks probably felt good hearing those black people beg and plead for some money, for some form of restitution, of repatriation, begging. Probably sounded delicious to them. Like, oh, I love this. Whoo! This is better than medium rare lamb. To them, right. Better than mid-rare lamb. Sickening, I know. But that's the position that they leave us in. That we know that's how they feel about us. Why else would they have them there? They have no intent on fixing anything. If they wanted to fix it, they could. Joe Biden signed an anti-Asian hate crime bill, right? These are the same Asians that came here to build the railroads that they thought they were going to come here and mine gold, right? These are the same Asians that not even 100 years after that, you allowed to come to this country and get 0% interest loans that they never ever pay back. And they passed the loan on to the children, creating by default generational wealth. These are the same Asians who are allowed to, on the backs of hardworking black folks and some dishonest ones, to come into their neighborhoods, set up shop, thrive, and send their children to higher education and to send the money back to where they originate. These are those Asians, correct. And they need an anti-Asian hate bill. Same dirty bastard put into effect. Now, I want y'all to understand this. Marijuana is a level 4 drug. Hold on. I understand this. Marijuana is a level 4 drug on the psychosis level and then how it's actually put together and monitored. Most people don't know this. It's a higher level than crack cocaine because it's more pure. Crack cocaine is a diluted version of cocaine. Right. Follow this. Now, I can't say that marijuana messes your mind up like crack does because you're smoking chemicals. But I'll tell you this right here. The psychosis is probably greater and it lasts longer. That's just me speaking the truth. This same dude put into effect laws that lock black people up disproportionately. While white people do what? Smoke weed and do coke. Both. Listen. They say crack is level 4 and cocaine is level 3. It's vice versa. It's vice versa. There have been way more people to overdose doing cocaine than there have been people overdose smoking crack. Facts over fiction. Why do you think they have to water the coke down? Because it's going right to their fucking brain. Right. I'm just giving it to y'all straight up rip. Straight up rip. They lock people up for a lesser drug that they claim was a higher version. But when you actually look at it, the chemical altering process dilutes the drug. Right. You're putting other chemicals in your body that are doing different things to you. But cocaine itself makes people act crazy. I've known way more people to do dumb shit while they were doing cocaine than people to do dumb shit while they were smoking crack. Facts over fiction. It's the truth. But right, the two true level 4 drugs. Well, I mean, one of them obviously got black people locked up forever and still get your black ass locked up forever in certain states till it's so-called legalized. But are they going to retrograde all those fucking prison sentences and then give up their free slave labor? No. Right. Joe Biden has to write a law into effect that undoes the fucking wickedness that literally, to this day, black people are getting out of prison right now for crimes that they did not commit. But during the hypersensitive time of the 90s, just being black and being accused of the crime could have been enough to get your ass either locked away forever or put on fucking death row. You know what I mean? Brothers I done met who were like, man, I spent 30 years in the pen. That's as long as I've been alive. These brothers in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. As long as I've been on earth, they were locked away. I can't imagine. Once again, though, you got motherfuckers who are sitting on a panel spot trying to tell me and you, or trying to act like they can relate to the situation when they come from the bloodline of those who fucking did shit to us. Like I said, where were John Brown's children at? To be like, man, fuck that. You owe these black people. Right. They don't need no kind of white people who are like, yo, y'all owe them. You owe them way more than what y'all want to say. See, I'm going to keep it real funky on this last part so that way everybody understand where we at. The roaring 20s, the golden age. If you guys ever wonder how they fucked up all the money, it's because of this false science called eugenics. And in eugenics was the belief that what you were born with, the status you were born under, was based on pure genomic superiority or inferiority. It was a way of telling black people that the only reason why you're poor is because you are genetically inferior. Having said that, they burnt down all the black villages that were starting to thrive. They were celebrating in the 20s their diminishment of black people. And at the end of the decade, when they had splurged off all their money, their Jewish pals from the other side of the world pulled the plug on all the fuckery. That's right. People always trying to wonder and figure out, like, what happened? Well, those part black and eighth black Jewish people, so-called Jews, started to feel some type of way. Right. Oh, what, you think it was them that was out there doing all that crazy stuff to black people? Not for the most part. Once again, it's a certain kind of white that does this shit. Oh, sure, there's been some dirty Jews to do some dumb shit. Sure. But the same dirty ass Jews, some of those Israelis came over here in the 60s and got water hosed and bit by dogs too. Word? Whole lot of them are dead and gone now. You know, have succumbed to those injuries throughout their life. That's a fact. So I'm not going to sit here and act like every single one of them is just a dirty devil, but most of them are the dirty devil. Having said that, though, them pulled the plug on the shit that was going on over here. Right. See, you can only watch someone suffer for so long until you realize it's wrong. They want this utopia. Let me go ahead and break this down to y'all. In the Bible, it said that at one point all the people were one race, one tongue. There was one lip of all, right? So that means that everybody looked alike, talked alike. Now, there's this thing called gene diversity today, which doesn't make any sense. It's abominable, but it's okay. Here's why. Because now they want to try to get everybody to back to being what? One, even though we're all not one. You follow what I'm saying? You get what I mean? The Jews 100 years ago thought that the future race was going to be some kind of mixed race because they're hoping to breed in with us. See, they were hoping, still hoping. Again, it's why the little curly-haired Frenchies, the curly-haired Italians, Any one of them that have the curly hair, because they all have curly hair to some degree. But this is why they were hoping that they were going to get in. Right on. We'll pull the plug on it. We'll force them to the north. We'll create a whole bunch of these interracial couples, and then we'll get our way. Because it forced black women and black men into situations they wouldn't have normally been in. Right. I'm trying to break it down. It's cold. See, once again, everything I'm saying, you can go look at it. I'm talking about the actual factual things that happen. It's undeniable that they forced black people out of the South. Undeniable. It's undeniable what happened during Jim Crow. It's all undeniable. That quote that I used to show in all the videos about dudes saying that the future is going to be a mixed race, a black and a Negro type race. I mean, a Jew and Negro type race. Listen, I'm not making this stuff up. Where do you think they got the concepts to want to do all this stuff? Other than trying to do what, y'all? Breed themselves into the bloodline because they understand what? Thou wert a wild olive branch. Grafted thyself into the original olive branch and the goodness of it. Stop what I'm... Oh, hear what I'm saying? That's that Pauline doctrine right there. Right. All the stuff that happened at Tulsa was a designed effort. They did that on purpose to force black people out of that place. Right. Because guess what? Black people are going to do. The one thing that doesn't make sense as to why we don't believe we're only 13% now. Unless you've been murdering us and getting rid of us. Right? Is because their problem with us is what? We make babies too much for them. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. Didn't mind it when we were slaves, though. Didn't mind underreporting how many slaves they actually had on those plantations either. They don't mind none of that. But now that you're free, they mind the fact that you're breeding. So you don't think that the problem with places like Black Wall Street was what? Black people indiscriminately making babies. No duh. Well, they could indiscriminately make those babies with who? Okay, then. Hoping to bring about a what? Okay, then. If people could even get on the level, they would actually understand that all of the Bible is true. Right on? Even the parts that are lies is truth to the degree that that's actually there. That's true. That's actually right in front of me. That's true. Whether all of it is absolute in its nature, that's a whole nother thing. I don't dictate when and where they wrote those things down at. But if it says something that I know to be the antithesis of the law, that's still true. That's truly right in front of me. It's undeniable. Why deny the truth? Even if what they're saying is not honest and is not in accord with what we already know to be dictated life, to be divine law. Right. They disappointed me, y'all. I'm disappointed. I sat there and I watched that thing just to come to the conclusions that I'm coming to as I speak to y'all. All these things that I've been saying, all the things that I'm saying to y'all, I was thinking this as I was watching. Like, this shit is crazy. Black people have literally been forced to amalgamate with their enemies. Their enemies won't say that we forced y'all to amalgamate with us. The enemies also won't say that this has happened before in this country and we started a war over it called the Civil War. The Civil War wasn't fucking fought to free black people. The Civil War was, once again, I told you, fought to thin the ranks of the quadroon, mulatto, and octoroon class that had began to take power. Now the so-called white people are realizing that they all come from octoroons and quadroons and mulattoes. Right. It bothers them. It bothers them to know that Even the purest of them aren't that pure. Right. It bothers them to know that. It kills them to know that. Right. You think I'm lying? You think I tell a tall tale when I say that? That is the most damaging thing in their whole existence. If they really didn't need, if think about this, these wicked ass devils have gone and killed whole groups of folks off the face of the planet. Indigenous tribes who weren't doing nothing to nobody, murdered them off the face of the earth. Why not just do that to us? If we really weren't important at all, if we held no significance to anything. Thank you. Thank you. Now you see what I'm saying. Brothers and sisters, I'm getting ready to get up out of here. Right on. You know, I got a few more minutes and then I got to roll because I got to be able to get to work at a feasible time today. But I got my Russia, Iran, and China, Rick and friends coming to you on Monday. Just putting together a couple little pieces for that. There'll be a couple links. Like I said, I don't really care about the screen share stuff these days. It doesn't prove the point anymore. You're either right or you're wrong. And you're either telling the truth or you're not. That's the bottom line. So they can make a movie. The movie could have a $1 billion budget. If the movie's based on a lie, guess what? It's still a lie, no matter what the fuck they tell you. Okay? So I'd rather have a no dollar budget and be all the way 100% authentic than put a budget together for y'all just to be lying to you. You understand what I'm saying? Or just to be embellishing what is already true. I don't need to embellish it. I just need to just tell the truth and then tell you how I see the truth from my two eyes. And you don't have to agree with every little thing that I'm saying, but there's a lot of stuff that I say that's not my own mind. Right on? So if you disagree with parts of the scripture, that's on you. And you can take it up with the Most High God if you ever meet him. But let me go ahead and be the first to tell you, your arms are definitely too short to box with him. So if you think you want to get in the ring with him on any of his divine laws, be my guest. Okay? But if not, and you just want to take my word for some of this divinity stuff, right on, then let me go down for being wrong. If I'm wrong. Okay, then. Because you're not going to put your salvation in my hands anyway, like I told y'all. Salvation is so that's a one-man army thing. One man fight. It's a one-man struggle. So I don't get your salvation. You don't get to get mine. It's not how it works. What we can do is bless one another, pray for one another, and speak the most. Once again, a prayer is the highest form of an affirmation that you can make. They tell you to think it into existence, to will it into existence. Well, what more to do than to pray to what you believe to be the creator of everything to get what you want willed into existence? See, they make zero sense when they go against me. Right on? When you actually break down the logic of what I'm saying, the truth to the matter, people get washed up because they know that what they're thinking in their minds is normally either backwards or it's wicked, or both. To be backward is not to be wicked, right on? But to be wicked is almost always to be backwards, even if they call it forward thinking. They told us some lies, brothers and sisters. They did. They told us some lies. But hang your hats on this. Because Tulsa's hearing was such a disappointment, know that the justice that's coming is going to be righteous. The real justice. Just know that. Just know, brothers and sisters, 570, okay? 568, something like that. Before the year ends, we're going to be down to well under 500 days. But just think about what I'm saying. I don't want y'all to get caught off guard by none of this nonsense. Your God has blessed you to have a sound mind. You have a sound mind, not because you listen to anything that I say, but because you believe in the Most High God. That's why you have a sound mind. We leave on this note. I told a man the other day, Gentile thing. I said, hey, forgiveness is mercy. Did you know that? And he said, I said, that's right. I said, mercy is forgiveness. Okay? They're not always the same thing, but they almost always act the same. If you forgive someone, you've shown mercy. And if you have mercy within you, then you have it within you to forgive. We have shown much mercy to our enemies. Much mercy to our enemies. You owe them no more mercy. All you need to do now is be cordial, be polite, be courteous, even to they that are your enemies, because some of your enemies look just like you. Right. Those are the enemies you're supposed to love, are your people. But the God-given Gentile wicked heathen, you need not love them, and you need not show them any more mercy. You need to be blessed enough to know that you don't owe them anything. You owe them not a thing, brothers and sisters. You were bought, you were paid for. With blood, sweat, and tears of your ancestors. You owe no thing to any man, not to I or any man greater than me or lesser than me. What you owe is to the Most High God. You owe him thanks, and you owe him your precious praise, because one day you will not be able to praise him ever again. So while you can praise the Most High God, give him his thanks and say thank you. I thank the Most High God for giving me a sound mind to speak to you, brothers and sisters. It's always an honor. Disappointed or not in the hearing, know that true justice is coming. And when true justice is here, there will be not a hearing, brothers and sisters. It will be the executing of justice in its full action. And with that, I salute you. And may this week, what's left of it, be better than last week. And may tomorrow, when it comes, be better than today. I love y'all, and I will talk to you again later. You know how we do.